Hi everyone. The working title for my research project is Wild Comedic Fake World, Reclaiming Kazakh National Identity in Diaspora. So for the sake of time, I'm going to assume that you have a general understanding of who Borat is. But if you don't know the details, that's fine, because all we're going to focus on is how the Kazakh community have responded to Sacha Baron Cohen and his use of Kazakhstan, a real country, for the fictionalized, over-the-top backdrop to his films. He recently commented on this. He said, "I chose Kazakhstan because it was a place that almost nobody in the US knew anything about, which allowed us to create a wild, comedic, fake world," which is where I got my title. A few months ago, this topic caught my interest because a lot of responses were coming out to news about the Borat sequel. The first thing was this video from Kazakh Tourism. Kazakh Tourism is affiliated with the Kazakh government, sort of overseen by them. So this was taken as almost an official recognition of Borat, an official response to Borat from the state. And they used his slogan, "Very nice." So there are different shots of Kazakh food, Kazakh symbols, architecture, landmarks, and then tourists saying, "Oh, very nice." So all around the world, this went viral. It has almost 1 million views on YouTube alone. And people are saying that, Kazakhstan has done a 180 from banning the first film and suing Sacha Baron Cohen to embracing this PR opportunity. And a lot of Kazakhs also positively responded to this, saying, people want to know about Kazakhstan, people want to come here, this is a great opportunity. At the same time, though, there's another response that's also going viral, maybe not globally, but certainly within the Kazakhstan and the Kazakh diaspora. And this is a negative response, but it's different than the negative response to the first film. It's expressed in the language of kind of the conversations about race going on in the US. So talking about whitewashing and racial stereotyping, this depiction of ethnic minorities. There's also a popular hashtag, cancel Borat, so this use of cancel culture. So less emphasis on this is a national embarrassment, this is an insult, and more on this is racist, this is racism. So I was very interested to see that both of these contradictory responses were getting so much attention and resonating with so many different people. Okay, so this chart, I've looked at maybe a few hundred different responses, interviews, people talking about Borat, Kazakhs talking about Borat. And this is just kind of mapping the general trends I see, kind of 4 camps. First, a disclaimer, a lot of people are neutral, a lot of people don't have strong opinions, but many people do, so this is what I'm going to be talking about. I'm not going to use this chart in my paper because I'm making some oversimplifications, but it's kind of the fastest way to just show you what I'm seeing. So basically, people respond positively or negatively. But then also, they seem to either see it as a reflection or a depiction of Kazakhstan or not. It has nothing to do with Kazakhstan. So for example, Group A is sort of positive about it, and they think that maybe it does reflect Kazakhstan. So you'll hear people say things like, we need to have self-sarcasm. This is maybe shining a light on misogyny and corruption issues within our own culture. Whereas Group B thinks that it has nothing to do with Kazakh culture, but it's good for tourism, so why not take advantage of that? People who are responding negatively, if they think that it is a portrayal of Kazakhstan, then they often take it as an insult. They take it very personally. They look at Borat in his swimsuit with the national flag and saying this is a shameful use of our symbols, our language, etc. And then Group D is this thing that we've talked about, where people are saying it's a racist portrayal of people of color, it's ethnic erasure, it's whitewashing. So even though it isn't showing anything about the real Kazakhstan, it's still ethically wrong to take the name of a real people group, a real nation, and do whatever you want with it. Associate it with these really horrible behaviors. So, some main issues and takeaways from this. It's all about the nation. In Across all of these opinion camps, reactions to the film are expressed in terms of nationalism, and the content of these responses, I believe, reflect different understandings of Kazakhstani national identity. So this has been very interesting to see kind of the divides. You know, what are the lines that people are drawing between, you know, how they understand Kazakh national identity. Also, of course, the times have changed. Borat was received very differently in 2020 than in 2006. So, of course, now we have hashtags and viral YouTube videos and memes. So the way that the conversation around Borat is happening is very different. But also, I think that something about the nation itself has changed significantly in these years. Its position and kind of the geopolitical sphere. Culturally, things have changed a lot. So that's also very interesting. But the issue that I'm going to focus on most, I think, you know, any of these three I could probably do my research project on, but I'll be focusing on the diaspora, identity in diaspora. So Cohen's fictionalized version of Kazakhstan necessarily involves and impacts the real country, but I would argue that Kazakhs living in the United States are actually the group of individuals that are most affected. And that's because Kazakhs living in the United States are among the target audience. So they're with people who might be taking this depiction of Kazakhstan as fact, or else, you know, just without a lot of context, without a lot of awareness that it's all completely fabricated. So a lot of Kazakhs in the United States have shared their stories about discrimination or racist remarks, behaviors that they've encountered in the United States because of this film. So I'm going to be referring to some different frameworks here, some works that we've encountered in our course. First one is Beyond Identity by Rogers Brubaker. So he talks about, of course, identity is something that crystallizes at certain moments as powerful, compelling reality. On their own, they don't have any reality, right? So I believe that Borat, the films, is one of these moments. And it's interesting because Kazakh Americans, the Kazakh ethnic minority is very small in the United States. If you compare it to all of the different ethnic minorities, there aren't a lot of Kazakhs living in the US. And yet, this film has kind of has made, like Brubaker expresses it, has a sort of groupness has emerged. Their voice has grown louder and stronger as people share their stories and join in a conversation around these hashtags and kind of are carving out, you know, what does it mean to be Kazakh in the United States? So I'd like to talk about Borat as one of these moments where identity crystallizes. The second one is Jennifer Brinkerhoff, who is in the module about diasporas. And she talks about hybrid identities. So in this case, people who still, you know, feel Kazakh, associate with Kazakh culture, but also have American values, or she also talks about liberal values, for example. So this is reminding me of the way that a lot of people in the diaspora have framed their protest of this film in the language of the discussions going on around them about race. She says, in the case of hybrid identities, such pride often encompasses liberal values and experiences associated with the adopted society. So I just find this very interesting. Some other things that I might refer to or kind of inspire me is ethno-symbolism in the Very Nice campaign. So that's the video I was talking about. Probably won't have a lot of time to get into this, but I'm hoping maybe there will be an opportunity to kind of mention it, because I do think it's a very interesting video for many reasons. And then also the sort of case studies we've looked at by Moss, Bernal, and Leidig. I think these can be good, useful sort of roadmaps for me and how the kinds of questions I can be asking, the kinds of methods I can use for my research. So my question, and I still want to play around with the wording here, but I'm going with how is hybrid identity of the Kazakh diaspora in the United States negotiated around the Borat films? My plan for this, first I need to continue what I've been doing, which is chart the digital landscape. On which platforms is this conversation taking place? What are the relevant hashtags, memes, and other kind of meaning signals that are used by people participating in this conversation? What distinguishing features of the diaspora are salient to this discussion? You know, have they recently come from Kazakhstan? Are they just there studying? These sorts of, you know, what information might be relevant there. I also need to identify key content and mobilizers. So I've already found a letter from the Kazakh American Association to Amazon, which is the streaming service where the sequel was released. There's a panel discussion on YouTube featuring a lot of kind of prominent Kazakh Americans talking about their opinions on this. Artwork by Yerden Zikibai, who's an art activist, and he's the artist behind a lot of the content that's getting shared, and the We Are Not Your Joke social media pages, which is also releasing a lot of content in forms of quotes, sort of shareable images that people respond to. Then I'd also like to analyze a representative sample of responses. So once I have an idea of how big this conversation is, how many people have used the hashtag or made some sort of comment on the films, maybe analyzing these for common themes in the way that you see the case studies that I mentioned earlier we're doing. Thank you very much for your attention. I would love some feedback on just how to sort of stay focused. I know this is a really big topic. It might seem like I'm kind of going in a lot of directions, and I know that, you know, for a paper of this size, I need to stay on task. So I'd love some ideas about that, or any, you know, connections that you might see to kind of glue things together. So thank you very much.